This is Moments of Truth with Andrew Marks, co-founder of Success Hacker. Today, I'm joined by Jay Nathan, Chief Customer Officer at HireLogic and co-founder of the Gain, Grow, Retain customer success community. Jay, welcome. Thanks for making some time for me today. And tell us about what's going on with you these days.
What's up, Andrew? Good to see you, man. As always. It's been a busy couple of months for us here at both HireLogic and then for my team at Customer Imperative as well. So I just sold a company called Customer Imperative, which founded back in 2017, a consulting firm focused on B2B SaaS companies. We just sold that to HireLogic about 30 days ago. And so HireLogic, if you don't know, is a community platform company. And so they've been serving the association, the nonprofit association space for about 10 years, have recently gotten into also serving the corporate space as well. So we have some really large customers in the B2B SaaS corporate space as well. So Broadcom, IBM, really big logos there, but then also a number of small and mid-sized companies, SaaS companies as well, use our platform to drive collaboration and engagement with their customers and their users. So obviously community is near and dear to my heart. Gain, Grow, Retain was sort of a passion project for Jeff and I over the past year to get launched. And so now we get to work with communities every day. I'm in the Chief Customer Officer role at HireLogic, like you mentioned. And so for me, it's just sort of this perfect match between a role I love, a team that I've known for a few years because we did some consulting with HireLogic prior, and in a market that we really enjoy, in a domain that's really interesting. So that's a little bit about what's been going on.
That's great. I'm happy for you. Hopefully we'll still maintain our partnership that we established from Customer Imperative.
That's right. You guys are a great partner, and I anticipate and expect that. So I'm sure we will.
Excellent. So let's talk about what it's like. You're 30 days in. You're a new Chief Customer Officer. Tell me more about the role and what you're doing, what you're responsible for. What's keeping you up at night.
It's maybe keeping me up at night and getting me up very early these days. But so the purview of the Chief Customer Officer role at HireLogic is really several things. It's all the customer facing functions post sales. So you think about things like implementation and onboarding, think about support. We have a managed services team that manages communities on behalf of our clients to help them get them off the ground and gives them an extra pair of hands to do that work for them. Very, very successful team. We have a customer success management team, which also handles our renewals. We have a CS ops team. We have an education team. So we've got all these different pieces of the customer journey puzzle that fit under the Chief Customer Officer role, as you might expect. The one place that we don't have, the Chief Customer Officer doesn't own directly in HireLogic, is upsell and cross-sell responsibility. That actually stays in our sales team, but we work very closely with them. So it's pretty broad purview.
Well, I actually think that's a good strategy. You want customer success to create the environment for a cross-sell or upsell, but you don't actually want them to be in a position where they're negotiating those things, right?
Yeah, I think so. And depending on the types of customers that you work with, that negotiation or that work that you do to actually drive a contractual outcome is just a lot different motion than the value and usage and adoption and outcomes kind of motion that a CSM needs to focus on. And usually what I'm seeing more and more, especially in our business, is that it's two different skill sets. And I'll take you a step farther, Andrew. Like, one of the things that we're looking at and investigating right now is even on our renewal motion, does that need to be a separate activity? Because, what I'm seeing, full disclosure, in our first 30 days here, we have sort of an overloaded role. Our CSMs are responsible for both the outcomes and value and relationship management, and then also driving renewals. And we need high fidelity on both, which we're just that size business that we need a lot of focus in both of those areas. So we're trying to figure out, how's that commercial split going to happen, even between renewal and customer success?
And the thing is, the higher fidelity, the higher the greater focus on the value realization and the adoption and all the things that are all about making the customer successful with your platform, the better you are at that, the less the renewal, the expansion, the cross sell, the upsell becomes an issue. You mitigate a lot of the friction of those commercial discussions
Right.
when you do really well at making sure the right people are doing the right things in the right ways at the right times for your customers, and they're getting $1, $5, $10, $15 of value for every dollar they're spending.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you have to rely on the terms and conditions in your contract to drive a renewal,
Yeah,
you're in a bad spot.
you're in a
right?
really bad spot. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think most of the people listening to this podcast would probably agree with us, but operationalizing that is a whole different matter, right? And so, one of the things that I'm feeling, pretty certain of at this point is that we have to sort of separate the execution of those two things to keep it pure and to get ahead of the value-driven, outcomes that our customers are looking for, so that renewal is a non-event. More
Right.
of a non-event.
More of a non-event. It's never going to be a non-event. That's just not
Right.
realistic.
Especially this year.
Oh gosh, yeah.
People are they're looking at their spend differently. They're having to make cuts and things that they didn't expect to. So our value proposition is really it's on the jury's out on it for a lot of companies, right? Unless you're Zoom or Mural or some company that is like right squarely in the middle of digital transformation and helping collaboration, like the jury's probably out on your value prop.
And it's amazing how important customer success teams have become in the last 6 months. Right? This, where it's not about you're not going to sell anymore. It's about retaining, right? Which is something that people like you and I have been saying for a decade. So given that you're in the community space, how are you leveraging the community to help you kind of solution out thoughts and ideas about how to do this, how to grow your company from where it is now to where you want it to be?
Yeah, great question. So I am a big believer. Like, I posted something on LinkedIn the other day about this, and about the older you get, the more you realize you don't know. So I can't imagine how self-aware you are, Andrew.
Nice. That's good. I like that. That's a good.
Just so everybody knows, I always dig on Andrew.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I dig on you too, man. So it's cool. It's cool. So you got to be able to take it if you're going to dish it out. So
yeah. Well, I better get ready. I have a feeling. So yeah, I mean, we look at companies that are bigger than us and that have gone ahead of us in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. So, Higher Logic is owned by an organization called JMI Equity. It's a private equity firm, and there's a number of other companies, if you look inside of JMI's portfolio, that have gone ahead of us. And so, Kronos is a great example. We are, we have some good close friends within Kronos. Their chief customer officer is part of our board. We, in the past couple of weeks, have been on the phone with them multiple times trying to understand how they are doing things. Now, they are well ahead of us in revenue, especially if you consider they just merged with Ultimate Software. But, I think that the moral of the story here is that, the answers that we need at this point probably exist in the community and in companies that have gone before us, not necessarily within our four walls. So that's one of the mindsets that I'm trying to bring to the organization is let's go see what other people are doing and bring in the best practices that we can find to help us in the stage that we are. So that's one piece of it, is just operationally, what can we learn from our peers in the community and those in our, our little ecosystem of the portfolio companies. But the other piece is, one of the first opportunities that I've already had to hire somebody, I hired somebody directly out of the Gain, Grow, Retain community. That's been part of our office hours calls. It's been active online, in the online piece of the community. And so, one of the things that I have done in my career is just, I've spent a lot of time recruiting before I actually needed people. And so, for your leaders who are listening to this, be it customer success or any other function that you lead, I think it's really important to keep tabs on what's happening around you in the communities of practice that you participate in, and just in the people that in your industry, because you never know when that opportunity is going to arise to go, well, I've already hired 2 people actually that I've either worked with in the past or that come from the community. And it's going to allow us to move a lot more quickly, as we continue to scale and drive specific outcomes in different areas of the business.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. What other things are you, what else are you, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? I'm a fan. I ever since we first met, I've been very we're very aligned in kind of the way we approach things, the way we think about things, even down to remember when we shared when we opened up the kimono. I know we talked about that earlier. Opened up the kimono and shared our consulting methodology with each other was very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, that was pretty cool. And there's, there are a number of different people in our space that, think the same way, have over the years sort of aligned on similar methodologies without having ever talked to each other, right? Because these things just sort of emerged. So when we saw what you guys had put together, we were really impressed with it. And in a lot of ways it mimicked ours. In a lot of ways it was a lot better than ours. So we learned from it as well. One thing that we're getting ready to do over the next 30 days is a customer journey mapping exercise for our own organization. Everybody's got a customer journey, right? Just a matter of whether it's actually coordinated. Your customers are having an experience, whether it's a good one or not, right? So, we've got this split, like many organizations do, between enterprise and SMB kind of accounts. So some accounts that pay us 10 grand a year, other accounts that pay us well north of, 6 figures a year. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, in your work, how have you thought about customer journey mapping relative to those 2 types of customer segments? One of the things we're going to need to do is build out a tech touch program, or what I call a digital led engagement program for a large swath of our customers. So
the way that we've approached it, we actually turn to teams like you these days, or teams like Customer Imperative, to do customer journey mapping for some of our customers. But we've looked at it more tactically. We've looked at it, and you're familiar with our customer success engagement blueprint, which mm-hmm. isn't a customer journey map per se, but it's a very tactical look at, here are the steps required in the different phases of the customer life cycle, and what we've done with our customers in the past with the customer success engagement blueprint is we've gone in and we've looked at we've started at the enterprise, their enterprise segment, which is their most important segment to them, because they do, not that any of the other segments aren't important, but these are the customers that are going to have the highest touch and have the highest value per customer. And we've started there and laid out what the customer journey looks like, and then gone back once that is laid out and figured out, okay, how much of these things that we've laid out here tactically, which of these things can be automated, which of these things in a mid-tier or a low-tier customer where we're going to have a mid-touch or a no-touch, low-touch approach, can we automate, because it's just not going to be that different from one customer to another. So we kind of start at we start with the kind of this superset look. Here's the grand vision of what we're looking for in the enterprise, and then boil that down to, okay, how can we take a subset of that and boil that into something that's a lot more automated, a lot more low touch, and that's but we've also traditionally been dealing with companies that have a large enterprise focus. They bring us in because of that.
Yeah. That's where a broken customer journey tends to manifest most distinctly, right? Is in enterprise, because you have enterprise customers that'll come to you and say, when I talk to support, it feels like I'm talking to a different company than when I talk to you guys in customer success, and then when I talk to sales. And so and
it has the biggest impact when it goes south.
Yeah, so this is a good thing, and this is every chief customer officer and every vice president of CS or director of CS, if you don't take anything else from this call, know that if you lose your biggest customer or one of your biggest customers and you didn't know it was coming, that is a career limiting issue
Very
for you,
much so. Very
right?
much so.
And so, yes, you have to get the customer journey right, but I think even, for us, like we're going to go do that work, but in parallel, we're also doing the work to start figuring out like who's at risk and why, like what is the current state of the existing customer. But no, I like your idea of starting with enterprise and then going down. And I think we've traditionally approached it that way as well, because like, you're right, it's a superset of what could potentially happen with a human touch. We are actually, there's even a third segment of what we're doing. And so Jeff and I have been debating on where we start in our journey, because we've got the enterprise, we've got the SMB and mid-market, and then we have this low tier, and it's not low end, it's just very small starting point. So you can start with Higher Logic with a nucleus, a very small community, and then you can grow it from there, which is actually a new motion for our organization, period. It changes the way we market, it changes the way we sell, it changes the way we deliver. We don't have an implementation anymore, right? There's a CSM who's going to help shepherd that process. And of course, I'm projecting into the future when all this stuff actually exists.
But even in that situation, you need to think about, they may start small, but what's their potential, right?
Exactly.
And are we putting them in the right segment? So I was when I was working with Discover.org, who's now ZoomInfo, who recently went public. One of the strategies that we put in place there was this notion of, just because somebody comes in and they're a bronze level customer, by the look of their ARR, doesn't mean, if we feel that they have gold or platinum level potential, then we should put them in that segment now and treat them like that segment now because of the potential upside.
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly right. So we have the way that I've always looked at segmentation is on a current value basis, and then an unrealized potential value basis. And you create sort of a simple 4-box out of that, and that becomes the core of your segmentation. So really good example. There are a lot of people out there right now, software companies in particular, who have seen the value in launching a community. You see little communities popping up all over the place, right? We have Gain, Grow, Retain. You've got a bunch of different sales communities that have been very successful.
We've got our community for CSM.
We've got a community. Well, yeah. I mean, people are more than ever understanding the value and impact of community, but especially for a software company who, let's just say in the, $10 to $100 million range, it's a new concept. It's a provisional thing. We think it's going to be valuable from a marketing perspective and from a customer engagement perspective, but we haven't ever done it before. Like, you need the ability to start small. That's what this low end offering is, right? Yep. Or the basic or essentials offering is going to be for us. And then, of course, we want you to grow with us. I was reading Snowflake's S1 last night. I don't know if you saw that they're going public.
I heard that they were. I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Their net retention rate is 156%, something insane. Like, they're growing at like 100, 200%, 150 to 200% per year. So
now they are a platform though that they could have 1,000 customers, 1,000 different implementations on their platform. So
platform as a service, right?
Yeah. So it's because it's almost even though it's a platform, the deployments are almost bespoke, right? So you can use that to your advantage,
right? Right. But the power of that growth, that land and expand model, I think a lot of businesses, especially businesses that are 10, 15, 20 years old, are really even just now starting to understand the power of that in their markets, right? And the fact that I don't have to start with the selling everything out of the gate. It's really a relationship sale, a consultative sale, and something that is going to grow over time just by nature of our offering and our go-to-market.
But the thing is, it doesn't just happen organically. You need people on your team that are paying attention to those customers, understanding what's going on with those customers, and taking like you said, a consultative approach with those customers, doing a lot of asking a lot of questions, doing a lot of listening, and uncovering things that those customers maybe not they didn't even think about that could be done with your platform. Right. And that's why it's so important, your customer success team, back to your original point about separating out, what the customer success team was doing. You want to over index on their ability to really focus on your customer. When I hear CSMs, we train a lot, we've trained thousands of CSMs now. And when I get on these calls with these CSMs, these coaching calls, and they talk to me like, oh, I've got 85, 100, 200 customers. I'm like, how can you be the least bit strategic when you're trying to juggle 200 different customers and ideas and thoughts and business models in your head, and then trying to connect the dots between what they need and what your product can offer them, so that you can drive value, expansion, upsell, renewals.
Yeah. Well, what drives me a little bit crazy is when I hear a company say, well, they only pay us $6,000 a year, so we're only going to give them X, Y, and Z, or they don't deserve A, B, and C, right? It's like, well, if you're selling to that segment of customers and they have specific needs, and by the way, if you sell to a customer that's buying something for $6,000 a year, there's probably thousands like it that would buy,
right,
just like them, right? So by really getting in and understanding the needs of each segment of your business and tuning not just the way you do customer success, engagement with them, but really tuning everything about it, like the way you build your product, the way you deliver your product, the way you engage that cohort of customers. There's huge value in that. I mean, and that's sort of like business 101, I feel like too, is like focus on your thing. But a lot of times, I mean, I've seen, and I've been part of companies where we tried to take an enterprise platform and say, oh, we're just going to strip out a bunch of stuff and make it
SMB, right? Yeah.
That doesn't work very well. No. You really have to start with a customer first approach, no matter what product you have. It's like, just because you have a hammer, what does the saying go? You probably know it better than I do. If you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right. No, I can't say that I know that one, but you roll with it, man. You roll with it. No, I haven't. No.
Okay, well, I barely got it out, so there you
go. Wow, that's good though. Hey, good try.
I can't believe you never heard that in all of your years.
In all of my years. There you go, taking a stab at my years again. I see how you are.
2-0.
Yeah, I know. Well, and you're the guest, so I'm letting you get them in. When I'm the guest on yours, I'll be armed. I'll be ready.
All right. Very good. Very good. I'll be on the lookout.
All right, Jay. Hey, man, thanks. This is great. I, as usual, love talking to you. Love talking customer success, and I wish you the best in your new role and continued success with the Gain, Grow, Retain community, and of course we are there to support you all the way. So just let us know what we can do to help.
Awesome, man. Great knowing you guys, and love being partners with you, and I anticipate that going well into the future. So
excellent.
Good to see you, and thanks for having me on, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you.